Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we are checking out the Pavo Pico by BetaFPV. It is a tiny Cinewhoop that can accommodate the DJI O3 air unit as well as the Walk Snail Avatar HD Pro and the Cadex Vista air unit as well. I have here the DJI O3 air unit VTX version with the built-in serial ELRS receiver. Now the Pavo Pico is the smallest 2S sub 100 gram DJI O3 air unit Cinewhoop in the market. Now just the quadcopter alone by itself weighs in at only 32 grams. And with the DJI O3 air unit and the mounting bracket, just 71 grams. And with the provided 450 milliamp 2S battery, a remarkable 99 grams. And the price, just $99. Now, it doesn't come with the DJI O3 air unit. You will have to purchase that separately yourself. But it does come with a lens protector for the DJI O3 air unit camera, a 3D printed lens protector casing that fits right on the camera. I still got the film on the lens to protect it, so it's brand new. I haven't used it yet. You also get two dipole antennas to replace the original DJI antenna, and you get two DJI original antenna mounting bracket if you decide to use the original antenna instead. But I would prefer to use the dipole antennas instead of the original antenna because it is a lot low profile instead of this big antenna sticking up. So yeah, very appreciative that they included a couple of these antennas. You also get a 450 milliamp 2S battery, which is really nice. And you get this USB-C to JST parameter cable assembly for betaflight connection, which is really nice. Instead of having the USB-C port on the flight controller, we have this nice lightweight JST connector. So that is really nice. So easy to connect instead of using that USB-C cable connector trying to plug it into your flight controller. You might have to remove one of the props just to do it like this, you know. So very nice that they provided something like this. You also get an extra set of these GemFan 45 millimeter tri-bladed props. So taking a closer look at the Pavo Pico, it is a split design where the quadcopter's carbon fiber frame, the all-in-one flight controller, and the prop guard slash duct with the battery holder assembly is then attached to the VTX and the mounting bracket assembly just like that. It is a very clever concept. Now, if they started to incorporate this concept to all quadcopters, 3, 5, 6, even 7-inch quadcopters, you would only need one DJI air unit. Now, they all just need to be prepped with the DJI connector wiring harness. So here I have removed the original DJI antenna with the provided dual dipole antennas as shown earlier, and the air unit itself is simply clipped on to the bracket, but the camera is screwed on. Now I'm using a couple of O-rings, one on each side there, and this is because the screw is a little bit too long, and it also helps to minimize vibrations from the camera. Now you can just attach the VTX mount to the quadcopter via 4 provided screws. And I'll leave a link right up here to a video that shows you how to do that. And it also has soft rubber dampers to absorb vibrations as well. Now this could become a thing where you just remove the VTX mount with the camera and everything from one quadcopter to another. Now the Cinewhoop is powered by the newly developed F4 1 to 2S 12 amp all-in-one brushless version 3 flight controller optimized for HD digital VTX. It has the STM32F405 chip, which weighs in at just 4.2 grams. It includes the serial ELRS 2.4 gigahertz receiver built in, and you see that antenna right there for it. 16 megabyte black box, barometer, current meter, and supports external GPS if you want to put that on yourself. Now it comes with BetaFlight version 4.4.1 pre-installed. So to connect to BetaFlight, you will need the provided Type-C to JST connector assembly cable. It is a tight space, so it makes sense. And by not using the Type-C connector on the flight controller board, it saves on the weight as well, as explained earlier. Now the Cinewhoop is the pusher style where the props are mounted from the bottom, so there is no air restrictions. Now we have the XT30 battery connector. We have the DJI O3 plug-and-play connector already prepped, and the wiring is compatible, so you don't have to worry about damaging your expensive O3 air unit. Now the motors are plug and play, so no need to solder when swapping them out, which is really nice. They are the 1102 14,000 kV BetaFPV motors with 3 screws. Now they are supposed to be less noisy, and with the GemFan 45mm push-in tri-bladed props along with the prop guard / duct angled down to maximize air velocity, it is set to produce stable flight and powerful lift while providing precise and responsive control to easily accomplish filming tasks as a Cinewhoop. Now remember, this is a Cinewhoop and not a freestyle hoop. And on the bottom is the battery bay mount. It will fit the provided 450 milliamp 2S battery perfectly, but it will not fit the 450 milliamp CNHL 2S battery. It's slightly too big. So you will have to Velcro it either outside of the mount or cut the bottom portion of the mount off to accommodate a bigger battery and use a Velcro strap. Now, thankfully, you can easily slide in a strap in either direction to accommodate a smaller battery, a bigger battery, or just for a tighter fit. So the binding process is pretty simple on the air unit, which I'll be using. Now, if you are familiar with the DJI air units, you will bind the remote controller to the air unit, and then you will bind the goggles to the air unit, or vice versa. Now I'm using the goggles V2, so put the goggles to the O3 air unit in the settings. Next, you want to press this bind button. You will hear this constant beeping. That means it is in the bind mode. Now power on the air unit. Now you want to wait until this green light turns red. Once it turns red, you want to go ahead and press that little round button right below the LED light. It'll start blinking and turn green once again, and the beeping that is heard on the goggles will cease. Now we are bound with the air unit to this goggles. Next, what you want to do is power on the remote controller. It is just searching. Now let's put this in the bind mode. So long press the power button. And there you go. It is in the bind mode. Now power on the air unit once again. Wait until the green light turns red. There you go, and press that little round button one more time. It'll start blinking. And there you go. Now we are bound with the remote controller to the air unit. Okay, so here we are in BetaFlight. Connect the quadcopter here. Okay, so first what you want to do is calibrate the accelerometer with a quadcopter on a flat level surface, especially if you are going to be using the angle or the horizon modes. So hit this little button here, let it calibrate, and you are done. So next, let's go to the ports tab. So if you want to use the S-Bus receiver like the DJI O3 Air Unit receiver with the DJI remote controller 2, the serial UART needs to be selected to UART6. And if you are using the built-in serial ELRS RX, then you want to turn off UART6, turn on UART3 for the serial RX. And if you are using other external receivers, the serial port should be set to UART1. So I'm going to set mine to UART6 because I'm using the DJI Air Unit for the receiver. Save and reboot. Not connecting. So force connect. Okay, next up is configuration. Everything is preset for you here. Even the accelerometer is turned on. Barometer is turned on as well. So craft name is set to Pavo Pico already. And if you want to turn on some of these beeper configuration, you can go ahead. It's all off by default. Now the only thing I did was I turned off the air mode, and that is because I do fly in angle mode sometimes, and if you are a beginner, you will want to disable permanent air mode here. So save and reboot if you made any changes. And power and battery, I haven't touched anything here. Fail safe is already set to drop. I haven't touched anything here. Presets, we don't need to do that. The PID tuning is already pre-tuned for you by BetaFPV, so leave it just as it is. So now on the receivers tab, the protocol is set to the receiver mode serial via UART, and the receiver provider is set to S-Bus, and that is because I am using the DJI O3 Air Unit. Okay, so next up, modes. Now here I have made some changes. I have the arming set to auxiliary 3, and the angle and the air mode set to auxiliary 2, and the buzzer set to auxiliary 1. So if you make any changes again, save. This one doesn't reboot. Finally, what you want to do is go to the OSD tab and go ahead and set it to how you like it, and that should be it. And also I have to set it to auto for all these values to appear on my FPV goggles. So set the video format to auto and save and exit out of here. Now you are basically done, and if you want to change any of the parameters again back to the default values, the stock pre-tuned values by BetaFPV, you can go ahead and download the original stock CLI dump files from the BetaFPV website. I'll leave a link down below, so if you want to check that out, if you made any changes to the quadcopter but didn't make any copies of it, or didn't download the CLI dump files, then you can also always get the original CLI dump files from BetaFPV. Alright guys, so here we go with the flight test of the Pavo Pico. I got a China Hobby line, 450 milliamp 2S battery. Velcro strap to the bottom of the battery bay here, so that'll work out. And I got two more over here, so when I put it on the table, it doesn't flop over, so I can kind of like balance it. And there you go. And here's the DJI controller too. Now the switches that I have configured in Betaflight modes allows me to arm and disarm the motors with this switch over here. I know the traditional one is this one. I really don't like it on my right finger, but you can go ahead and set it up to this one if you want. I got my buzzer switch to this rocker here, but the buzzer is not turned on. I have my mode switch with the rocker right here. It is set to angle mode, and in the middle I don't have horizon mode, so it'll go into acro mode, and on the top of the switch will be air mode. Now the photo and video button still works on this thing, and I have my throttle still spring loaded, so I have to hold it down and arm it and then go ahead and fly. Alright, so let's go ahead and power up the remote and power up the quad with the correct connector here. Alright, let's power up and then hold it level here. Alright, so it takes a little while for it to connect. I also have my FPV goggles over here already plugged in, powered up, and ready to go. So once it connects, it will connect automatically as well. So the light just turned on and the light is solid. You heard a couple of beeps, so we are ready to go. So let's go ahead and check it out. Start off in angle mode, arm the motors, and check how soft or quiet the motors are. Really, really quiet. All right, so let's go ahead and check this thing out. So there you go. I'm just hovering, and if you set up the throttle stick, you can let go, but if I let go of my throttle stick, it'll just start climbing because it'll go springing into the mid position. So here we go, guys. The Pavo Pico. This is actually my first time flying it like this. I did hover test in the garage, but that is as far as I went, and look at how nice and stable this thing is. And also the record button. Yeah, so if you press the record button before you arm it, I believe it will not record, or it will just record on the FPV goggles. But if you do it afterwards, like right now, it will start recording onto the air unit as well as the FPV goggles. Something came by to check it out, a little hummingbird. Very appropriate with this Pavo Pico. I researched what Pavo Pico means, and it's like a turkey. Yeah, turkey beak or something like that. Wow. Very quiet. Really, really nice. Oh, this is gonna make a nice little FPV quad. And with the HD video, wow. And the range the O3 unit has, this thing will go really, really far. Too bad the battery is not going to let it go too far. Alright, so let's go ahead and bring it down. I got my landing pad and then disarm and stop the recording. Nice. Alright, so here we go with our first FPV flight. Now this flight will be flown completely in the stabilized mode or the angle mode. Looking pretty nice. There I am in the shade of a tree. It is a beautiful day here in paradise, but there are a lot of bugs here, so it doesn't feel too much like paradise at the moment. So if you are a beginner, you can fly this Pavo Pico, which looks just like a DJI AVATA but mini sized, in the stabilized mode and cruise around like any other Cinewhoop, taking in the view. Now, it is very responsive, and with the O3 air unit, the FPV and the recorded video are both in high definition, so which is really nice. Now, this video clip is from the O3 air unit's built-in DVR in 4K, but reduced down to 1080p for this particular demonstration. Now, the quality of the video is pretty good, but there are still a tiny bit of vibrations, even with the Rocksteady, the built-in EIS. You can use gyro flow to smooth that out. I'm just showing you guys the untouched video. So let's bring it in for a landing. And there you go. All right, so here is my second FPV flight, and this flight will be entirely in air mode, which is basically acro mode. So yes, you can fly the Pavo Pico like if it was a freestyle quad, and it doesn't have any yaw washout like some of the other tiny hoops, but it does have a little bit of prop wash, and you have to manage the throttle a little bit better. So give us some throttle a little earlier than normal than your other FPV quads. But in acro mode, you can do some cool stuff like this here power loop, which is awesome for a tiny hoop. And also control the quadcopter with a lot more precision and responsiveness. So here comes a couple of trees here. Do a power loop between them. And woohoo! Almost crashed into the flock of birds there. Now that's what it is all about. Chasing the birds like a Cinewhoop, but oops, running out of battery. That is the story of this quad, but not bad for a tiny Cinewhoop. Coming for a landing. And there you go. Now here is a flight to sort of demonstrate the range of the Pavo Pico. Now the video is in 2x speed, so no, I'm not flying it that fast. And since it has the DJI O3 air unit, range isn't an issue at all. Now I'm sure it will go a lot further than that, but I'll turn around and head back. All right, so here is my final flight, and this flight is with the battery that the Pavo Pico came with. Now, it gave me almost 4 minutes of flight time. The flight time averages around 3 to 4 minutes, depending on the flying style. I would recommend investing in multiple batteries to enjoy extended flight sessions. So you can cruise up high and take some cinematic shots with the Pavo Pico, and gradually come down for the close-up shots on the ground. And for a sub 100 gram tiny hoop to do that is just amazing. And in 4K, no less. So cruising around here, and I get surprised by this kid that just pops up through that climb ladder. And man, it's only 8:30 in the morning, and people are already grilling and chilling. So heading over to the playground, where there's a little bit more color than normal. Up in here, the high desert. We got some orange, some yellow, and some darker greens and lighter greens. And this DJI O3 air unit is just fantastic. Oh, and check it out. Lowriders. No wonder they're already grilling and chilling, right? Yeah, the lowrider guys are starting to gather up over here in the parking lot, having a good time. All right, so let's head on over to where the cows are grazing out in the field. And there I am on the right, underneath of the shade. So you can enjoy cruising around the whole park without limitations with this thing. It has awesome range, and it also has awesome FPV range as well. So the cows are grazing in this big field over here, so let's head on over there. And here we go, between the two trees. And there they are, grazing. So cinematic, isn't it? For sub 100 gram tiny hoop, guys. This is just amazing. Very nice. Very responsive. Everything you want in a Cinewhoop. Good range, good FPV video. Just fantastic. So once again, you can go and fly up high, take in the scene, do a little pan, check out the place. And come down for the low ground shots. And there's two bike riders there. Awesome. Very cinematic. So come down to the ground shot and fly low. Now that brings us to the low riders. Now they were here for a get together and was sponsored by Thump Records. And they were setting up for a good time here in paradise. And my battery ran out as I was coming back, right about there. So here's the Thump truck. They were unloading all kinds of goodies. And here are some low riders that were parked in the parking lot. So there you have it, guys. So the BetaFPV Pavo Pico is an excellent choice for both beginners and experienced pilots. For beginners, the prop guard / duct and stabilized settings offer a gentle learning curve, while experts will appreciate the quad's ability to push the boundaries of acro flight. Now, the BetaFPV team has done an impressive job ensuring an enjoyable experience straight out of the box. So in conclusion, the BetaFPV Pavo Pico is an outstanding micro quadcopter Cinewhoop that delivers an awesome flying experience with its sub 100 gram weight and its tiny size. Its build quality, flight performance, and user-friendly features make it a must-have for drone enthusiasts of all levels. Just be prepared to invest in extra batteries to maximize your fun in the sky. So if you like what you see, the link to the product is down below in the video description. So thank you so much for tuning in and watching. Have a great day, and we'll see you again next time.